Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to our first lesson of the Level 1 series. This is called Learning Rhythm and Counting, and it's probably one of the more important ones because this is going to set you up for the entire lesson series and learning lots of music in general. Reading sheet music is kind of a language, and in drums, there are lots of drummers who don't learn from reading sheet music. However, if you want to learn specific exercises, whether it's through my series or somewhere else from private lessons or any resources online, they all provide them using sheet music. And all of my exercises I'm using through sheet music. So you're going to have to develop the skill of looking at an exercise and being able to figure out, okay, what do I exactly do here? So that's what today is going to be about. I'm going to just teach you a little bit about how to read some of the things that you're going to see and how to understand them. So I'm going to give you the very, very basics. There's a lot to it, but I'm just going to give you the very, very basics. And I'm just going to give you things specific to drums. If you're in a school band and stuff or band class, you've probably learned a lot about how to read music already. And especially in the school system through band and music and rhythmic activities, they teach you that as a basic level of understanding. But when drums, it's slightly different. But it's going to help you especially be able to comprehend and understand the exercises faster, which is going to save you a lot of time in the long run. So let's get started. So first of all, we're going to talk about some of the things that you need to know. So on the screen right now is what we call a basic rock beat. And this is what drum sheet music might look like. So this is a basic drum beat. And this is what they call a rock beat. Boom, pa, boom, pa, boom. That's kind of what it's going to sound like. Now, on this, there's a few things that you want to identify. Looking at this little picture here, you're going to notice that there are some lines along the way, and it kind of separates a bunch of the notes that are separated there. Those are called bars, and sometimes people also call them measures. Bars and measures are exactly the same thing. So in this little picture, there are two bars, and you can see there's like two sections. They're kind of cut with a line right down the middle. And a bar holds a certain number of beats. That's kind of what it always does. Okay, so all sheet music will have bars, and in each bar, there is a certain number of beats. How many beats is depending on what type of music there are. Now, very basic and easy is what they call 4/4 time. And that's pretty much what exactly all of these lessons are going to be about, is 4/4 time. When I say 4/4 time, that is referring to something called the time signature. Now, the time signature is basically tells you how many beats are in each bar. And at the very, very start, on the very left-hand side, you're going to see what the time signature says. It says there's two number fours, 4 and 4 on top of each other. The 4 and the 4 tell you how many beats are in the bar and how to count it. So what the 2 4s actually technically mean is the first number on the top tells you how many numbers of beats to count in each bar. Okay, so if it says 4, there are 4 beats inside that bar. If it says 8, there are 8 beats inside that bar. Okay, so that's kind of what it means. And the second number tells you what kind of note that you're going to be counting with. So for example, there are quarter notes, there are eighth notes, there are 16th notes. So a quarter note, if you think of a fraction, the numerator and the denominator, doing a little math here, the bottom number, the denominator, is a 4, and that means quarter. So if I say a quarter of something, that's 1/4. So that's where the 4 comes from. If I said an eighth of something, that is 1/8, and the denominator is an 8. So if I said 8, then you're going to be counting the beats by every eighth note that you see, and then 16th and so on. Now, I know that might get a little confusing just even thinking about it, but as you start to see some visual examples, it might start to come to light of what that actually means. But for today's purpose, we are going to keep it very simple for you and keep it very original. Lots of music is in basic 4/4 time. So we're going to keep it into 4/4 time. So one last time, looking at the picture, just to analyze, this picture that you see, the basic rock beat, is in 4/4 time, and you can see the numbers on top of the little notes that are being played. You'll see the numbers 1 and 2 and 3 and so on. Now, remember, this is 4/4 time, so there are 4 beats in every single bar. So it's a good skill and a good practice for you to identify where the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 4 are in this. By learning this, and as you practice counting when doing the exercises, is going to help you figure out and keep time for all this. Remember, a drummer's job is probably just as important as the rest of the band. But the drummer's job is to keep the band together and to keep time and to keep rhythm and groove. Without timing and without counting and without, if you just kind of hit randomly all over the drums, it wouldn't really sound that good. And you need to be able to keep that rhythm, or else it's going to hold and be the glue to everything. So a drummer's job, being able to count and keep everybody in time, is kind of the whole point of why we are trying to be a good drummer. So just keep that in mind. All right. Now, moving on, let's look at some of the symbols that we might see. Now, you saw a bunch of the symbols, but you might not know what they all mean and so on. And we'll get to kind of what specific parts of the drums we hit when you see certain things. But let's just look at the symbols themselves. So right now, there's a chart on the screen, and there's 3 different types of notes that we're probably going to see the most when we are doing some drumming. There's something called a quarter note, an eighth note, and a 16th note. Okay, a quarter note, an eighth note, and a 16th note. All right, so in pretending that we're going to assume everything's in 4/4 time. A quarter note counts as 1. Okay, it counts as one whole thing. All right, so in a bar, there are 4 beats. So how many quarter notes do you think you'll see? 4. That's right, there should be 4 quarter notes, right? Each of them count as 1, and there's 4 beats in every bar. So you'll see on the pictures that you might have, you'll see like the dot with a tail, right? The black dot with a tail. That is the note. So every time you see a black dot, and whether it has a tail or not a tail, or they're connected or not, anytime you see a black dot on sheet music, that means you play something, okay? That means a note is being played. So if I had 4 quarter notes, a note is being played every time a quarter note comes across. Notice as well on the very, very bottom that there's a rest note as well. And we want to know what the rest note means, especially when we see it. What rest means is that we don't play. Okay, so we don't play anytime we see a rest note. So that should be blank, no drums are being hit, nothing's happening. So we have a note when something's being played and a rest when something's not being played. Let's look at the eighth note, the one in the section in the middle there. An eighth note is half of a beat. Okay, so it's basically we took that quarter note and now we're splitting it into 2. It's a half of each one, okay? A half of each one. So a half of every beat. So it's counted as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so on. Okay, so the and represents kind of a half, and the 1 also represents a half when we're talking about eighth notes. Notice what the note looks like. It's got the black dot, but it's got one little tail. If I put 2 notes together, they're usually bridged together by some kind of line that are connected to each other, a single line. And so 2 eighth notes together looks very similar. They'll both have tails, but the tails are connected to each other. Notice what the rest note looks like as well. It's kind of like a backwards R with a bulb on it. So notice what the rest and the notes are. Identify those, memorize those, really learn what these notes mean. Then we get to the 16th notes, which is probably a little harder. The 16th note, instead of half, now it's going to be a quarter of the beat, which means that quarter note is now split into not 2, but 4 things. 4 things. 1 quarter, 1 quarter, 1 quarter, 1 quarter make up the whole as 1. And so instead, in music, and we've learned this in band class and stuff, it's counted as, they say the letters E and A. So 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and And where the E and comes from, it's just like a nice phrase that you can say that's easy to spit out when you're talking and saying it out loud. You could say 1 and 2 and 3 and. It might just get harder to say as you go faster. And you can make up your own little rhyme if you like to. That's 4 syllables long. But just remember that you are always each of them are a quarter. Okay. Notice what the note looks like. It's that same black dot, but has 2 tails. Okay, it's a 1 tail with 2 little ends on it. And if I connected a bunch of them together, let's say I connected all 4 together, they're connected by a bridge, but the bridge has 2 lines across. And you're going to see that very shortly, what that looks like. Notice what the rest looks like as well. We got 2 little black bulbs all connected in the backwards are. Okay, so your job, I want you to memorize what these little symbols mean, because they're going to come up quite a bit. Now, let's look at the next picture to kind of see what these notes look like in sheet music, okay, especially in drums. So for these exercises, here's what a quarter notes look like, okay? So we're pretending everything's 4/4 time. You're going to see that this is 1 bar. This is 1 bar. Now, in 4/4 time, 1 bar has how many beats? 4 beats. And you can see I put the numbers along the top there for you. So this has 4 quarter notes. Each note represents, if you look at that chart before, each note represents 1. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. All right, if I played that over and over again. So each of them represent 1. Now, looking at the 8th notes now, the 8th notes, you'll notice that that quarter note has now split into 2. Okay, so now there are 8 black dots instead of 4 black dots. And they're all, you see how they're connected together? That's what I meant by when you put 2 8 notes together, they're connected by that bridge. That's what it looks like. So now how you count it is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay? So that's how it's counted, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then we look at the 16th notes, the last one, the 16th notes. Now here's a bunch of them now, okay? It started as 1, then it went to 2, and now it's at 4, okay? Remember, each 16th note counts as a quarter, okay? So you got to add those quarters up. Now, you'll notice the words on the top. I use E and A. You can use redo it if you want in your own phrase. But 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, 4 E and A, and so on. So 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, 4 E and A. Okay, every time I'm saying one of those counts, that's when a note is being played. Okay, in this section, there's no rest right now, right? There's no rest in just these practice exercises. So I just want you to be aware of one last thing before I move on and we get into the exercises for today. The quarter notes, the 8th notes, and the 16th notes are what you're going to see the most, but they are played at different speeds, okay? So, for example, if I started playing at a certain beats per minute, I'm just going to use one from my head right now. Let's say I'm doing at 60 beats per minute. I'm just going to kind of make that up right now. 60 beats per minute. So I'm going to play 60 beats per minute on the metronome, and I'm going to clap along to the different tempos, all right? So I'm going to play it continuously. So this is 60 beats per minute. I'm going to start with quarter notes. Okay, here we go. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see how slow that is? All right, now let's switch it to 8 notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Notice how it's double speed. It's double the speed. Now let's go to 16th notes. Here's what it sounds like. Ready? Here we go. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. So you see how even faster that is. So you see how a lot faster that is when I start going down the tree here. Okay, so the speed of the song or speed of the metronome, that the beeping that you heard, is not changing. Okay, it's the notes that make you change how fast or slow things are. So you have to be able to identify those in a typical beat. All right, so with all that, those are the basic things that you need to know before we move on to the day's exercises. And now I hope this is something that I want you to kind of get familiar with the symbols that you see. Now, for today's exercises, there are 5 different exercises that we're going to do. And each of them, as we progress, are going to be a little bit harder. I suggest to you that you get yourself, whether it's a quiet room or an open space or your drum kit, whatever it might be, get the equipment that you need for today's exercises. So the equipment you need for today is you could need definitely a metronome. Okay, you need a metronome. Now, whether you have it on your phone or you have a device like I do right here, whatever it means necessary, you need a metronome that's going to play continuously for you. All right, don't just make it up in your head and just kind of wing it. Follow a metronome. It's going to give you that internal sense of timing, and that's something that we're going to need to develop over time. All right, the goal of today for all the exercises is to be perfect. And I don't usually like saying that word perfect a lot because I don't believe in being perfect all the time. No one can be perfect all the time. But with rhythm and drumming, it is essential to be perfect. We don't want to be close enough, especially in drums, because remember, we're the timing for everybody else that we play with. We can't just, when we're playing our favorite song, we can't just like, close enough, it's kind of on time. No, we want to be perfectly on time. The more time you are, the closer it's going to sound towards that song. So be as perfect and close to perfect as you possibly can. You'll know you're doing a great job if you can play the exercises 3 times in a row perfectly, okay? And comfortably at the speed that you choose. All right, so 3 times in a row. That's kind of what you're going for. And you can play as many times as you want to. Now, for each of the exercises, you can split them up in smaller sections. What's the best way to learn? I remember there was an old saying when I was at a workshop for teaching once upon a time. And they said, how do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time, because you don't just eat in one bite. Elephant's huge. So taking in small sections is going to be something that's helpful as well. So if you're stuck on one section, go back to it, work it out, and then you can build onto the pieces as you go. All right. Now, when you're using the metronome, I suggest to you that you make it, of course, something that you can hear, so headphones or plug it in as you wish. But you're going to notice that on your exercise sheet, and by the way, if you haven't printed your exercise sheet off from the workbook yet, definitely do it because you can write and draw notes on it, whatever you choose. But on the exercise sheet, you're going to notice that there are some beats per minute right at the top here of each of the exercises. And these are goals for you to hit. So you want to try and start at the very, very left side, the slow side. For all the exercises, start slow and gradually build your way up. We don't start from the lowest point and then all of a sudden, that was pretty easy, and it might be for the first time, pretty easy, I'm just going to jump right ahead to the end. Gradually build your way up. Remember, each level, you want to be playing it perfectly at least 3 times in a row, comfortably. So you know you can do that 3 times in a row without stopping. That's when you know you can move up to the next level. All right. And if you feel like you're really tense and tight and you can't, like you're really clenching and trying so hard, you can decrease the metronome just a little bit. And it's very flexible, right? I'm not there to tell you how much beats per minute you're going to set your metronome to. Adjust as you think you need necessary. But I highly recommend, and it's designed to start slow and gradually build your way up. Even 1 beat per minute is still a different change than what's recommended on the sheet as 10. All right. Now, notice on your worksheet as well that there is no numbers or writing at all about where the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 4, or 1 and 2 and, or 1 and or 2 and. There's nothing on the sheet here for you. And that's on purpose. I recommend that you write down and you record where the 1, 2, and the 3, and the 4 are. It's going to help you practice and memorize and internalize how things go. All right, so just be careful. As well, and in these exercises, I threw in some rest notes in there to try and throw you off and to try and confuse you a little bit, and that's on purpose. I want to challenge you, okay? We want to be challenged during this, so be careful, watch out for those rest notes. You'll be absolutely fine, all right? Rhythm is kind of one of those things that you want to practice and practice and practice. And in drumming, repetition is kind of the name of the game of how you get better. Repeating it so it's automatic and comfortable. That's how you become a good drummer. You want lots of repetition and practice at all this. So even including some rhythm exercises like the ones we're doing today are going to be helpful. Okay, with all that said, let's get started. So with our first exercise. Now, again, if you haven't had your sheet, grab it, put it in front of you. I have mine right here on my snare drum. Now, I'm sitting behind my drums. For today's exercises, you do not need to be behind your drums and play on your drums to learn these. You absolutely can. If you want to take your drumsticks and hit the drums doing these exercises, you absolutely can. But it is not necessary. You can tap on your legs, you can clap, okay? You can hit a tabletop, you can snap your fingers, whatever it might be. Choose a method that works for you. You don't need the drums to learn this section. Today, for the purpose of my video, I'm going to be clapping along for these exercises and doing something visual. For each of these exercises that I'm going to demonstrate for you, we're going to talk about them and kind of go through them a little bit together. I'm going to be clapping along. I'm going to be playing these exercises 3 times, okay? 3 times from start to finish and repeating itself 3 times. And I'm going to be counting out loud as I do it. Now, if you can count along with it, great. If you can't, that's okay. If you can just follow along with a paper and kind of clap in your head, that's okay. But I encourage you to try and count as you do it. It's going to be an extra challenge. It's going to be harder, but it's an extra challenge to try and make sure it happens. Now remember, you have all of these beats per minute to choose from. When I demonstrate these exercises today, when I play it start to finish, I'm going to play at 2 speeds for you. I'm going to play it at 60 beats per minute. And then I'm also going to be playing it at 100 beats per minute. And I'm going to leave the higher numbers for you to challenge. And it can get quite challenging and fast sometimes, especially when we get to the 16th notes. Like clapping at 16 notes, it's really, really hard. So it might end up being 2-leg tap or something like that. Okay. Enough of me talking. Let's get started. Let's start off with exercise number 1. Now, exercise number 1, first of all, we are in 4/4 time, and all these exercises can be 4/4 time. Let's look at the exercise right now. We have 4 bars to play. 4 bars to play. And each of these bars, if you look at it, is 4/4 time. Each bar has 4 beats in it. So our first task that we should do is identify the notes that we see and identify where the 1, 2, and the 3, and the 4 go. All right, so if I'm looking at the exercises, all we see are quarter notes. Remember, anytime you see a black dot, that is a note that needs to be played. So in this bar, you're in the first bar, okay, the first bar, very top left, the first bar, we see 4 black dots with tails. That means 4 claps or taps are going to happen. In the second bar, we see 3 black dots, so only 3 are going to play. But look at the second note that's being played in that second bar, though. Do you recognize that symbol? That's a rest. So remember, rest is not being played. Okay, so that second bar is going to be played as 1 blank, no playing, 3, 4. Okay, so it's going to be like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so notice I didn't play the second one. That's on purpose. The third bar, we have 2 black dots, so only 2 claps or taps are going to be played. So notice a rest between this number 2 and the number 4. So it's going to be played like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so only 2 claps happen there. Okay, be careful. And the fourth bar, we have 3 black dots, so that means there's going to be 3 notes being played, and it's going to be 1, 2. The third one is a rest, and then 4. Okay, so I highly recommend that you go take a pen or pencil and you write down where the 1, 2, and the 3, and the 4 is. Now, for the exercise number 1, I consider this to be simpler to identify where the 1, 2, and the 3, and the 4 is, because there's 4 things in each note. So just name them from left to right: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all you need to worry about. There's no 8 notes. These are all quarter notes, which means they all only count as 1. So I'm going to play this start to finish 3 times in a row. Feel free to play along with me if you'd like to, or just sit and listen, and so you can identify what it's supposed to sound like. So I'm going to be playing the first time at 60 beats per minute, and then I'm going to play a second time at 100 beats per minute. So here is 60 beats per minute, and I'll count in before we go. And remember, I'm playing this 3 times in a row without stopping. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that was 60 beats per minute. Now it seems a little painfully slow, but you have to identify and stay in time. That's kind of a challenge. You have to stay on following what the beats on the metronome. Now let's speed it up to 100. Now remember, this is not how you would progress in this. I'm just demonstrating to you what it sounds like at 100 beats per minute. So if you want a challenge, feel free to, you can play along if you want to, but remember, you wouldn't jump from 60 to 100 here. You would go 60, play that 3 times. If you feel comfortable, then move to the next level, which on your sheet says 70 beats per minute. So this is what 100 beats per minute sounds like, a little bit faster. And again, playing 3 times in a row. Here we go. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see how significantly faster that was, and it challenges your brain actually as you have to like compute your notes and clap, don't clap, like faster as you go with this. So that is exercise number 1. Remember, try your best to play it 3 times. Start slow, build your way fast. Let's demonstrate exercise number 2. Okay, number 2 now. So number 2, I now have added some 8th notes in there. Now, identifying the things that we see and making sure we know the counts, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, remember, this is also 4/4 time, so each of these contain 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, we got to identify where they go. Now, on the first bar, we see a quarter note, and then we see 2 8th notes, and then another quarter note and another quarter note. So the first one is going to be 1. And then where it gets to the 8th notes, because there's 2 together, the first one, every time you see 8 notes put together, it's always going to be the first one, left to right, is going to be 2. So how do you say 8 notes again? If you remember our lesson, our little words before, it's counted as and. They're half of something, right? So in this case, in this bar, it's going to be the first quarter note is 1, and then the 8th notes are 2 and. 2 and. And then there's 3, 4. So it's 1, 2, and 3, 4. Okay, that's how it's said. The second bar, similar idea. We have the quarter notes, 1, 2, and then here's the 8th notes, 3 and 4. So it's 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's how it's said. The third bar is 2 8th notes, 1 and. Second note is a quarter note, 2. Then we have 3 and 4. Okay, 3 and 4. And then the last bar, 1 and a 2, because there's 2 quarter notes. And then there's that 8th bar again, 3 and 4. Okay, so the 8th notes are kind of adding in there to challenge you in your speeds. Remember, the 8th notes are played doubles fast as the quarter notes are. All right, so I'm going to play this slow again at 60 beats per minute, just as I've done before, and then I play again at 100 beats per minute, and I'm going to play it 3 times, counting out loud as I go. All right, so feel free to follow along or sit and watch, and then you can try it on your own and pause the video afterwards. So here is 60 beats per minute. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Again, 1, 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Last time. 1, 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. All right, that's 60 beats per minute. And so that gets you remember those 8 notes get played double as fast. All right, I'm going to demonstrate to you now what 100 beats per minute sounds like to you. Remember, don't jump this fast. Start slow, build up progressively. I'm just demonstrating what the 100 beats per minute sounds like. So when you get to this level, this is what it's going to sound like. All right, here we go. 100 beats per minute. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. All right, so that is 100 beats per minute. All right, so you see how significantly faster it is than 60 beats per minute. All right, now that's how exercise number 2 goes. Let's move on to exercise number 3. Now, this is a tricky one. Let's identify the notes that we see and put the counts in. All right, so there's 2 bars, looks like 2 little lines are exactly the same here. So for exercise number 3, our first bar is 4 quarter notes, and it's in 4/4 time. So that one's pretty easy, like our first exercise. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Okay, so that's pretty easy. But the second bar looks a little different. We have a weird looking rest, and the rest is an 8th note rest. So that's a half a count. And then the second note is a 8th note directly. So we have 8th note rest and then 8th note right after. Okay, so we have to be able to play that. So it's how does that sound? So remember, if 8th notes are 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and basically we're just taking out the numbers and we're playing the and. Okay, so that's going to be confusing. So it's going to sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That's going to sound like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. They call that an offbeat in drums. So that's going to be a little tricky. So the ones go on where the rest is, and the ands go where the notes are. So a little bit tricky. All right, and it looks like it repeats itself completely. So let's demonstrate this at 60 beats per minute so you can see what it sounds like. Okay, feel free to play along. I'm going to play this 3 times. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Tricky, isn't it? Yeah, it's that kind of offbeat, but you kind of start to feel like a groove or like a beat that you want to kind of dance along to in your head. I feel like when I play this one. All right, let's do 100 beats per minute just to demonstrate it. This is going to be a little more challenging, so be aware. But remember, you're progressing in steps. So I'm demonstrating what 100 looks like, just as the past ones, 3 times in a row. Here's what 100 sounds like. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. All right. So it's a little bit faster, challenges your brain a little bit more. It's like, my brain's got to start to thinking. All right. That is exercise number 3. Give that a whirl. Number 4, exercise number 4. All right, here we go. We got a little bit more complicated here. Lots of random stuff going on here. So exercise number 4, again, I'm identifying the notes and I'm identifying where the 1, 2, and the 3 and the 4 are because this is 4 times. Like I said, all of them are going to be 4 times. So it's 4 beats you got to identify. Looks like the first 2 bars are exactly the same. So whatever we figure out here, they're going to copy over to the next one. So it looks like we have, looks like 2 sets of 8 notes at the front, so 4 1/8 notes, and then followed by 2 quarter notes. So remember, the number goes on the first 8 notes, left to right. So it's going to be 1 and 2 and then we have 2 quarter notes, 3, 4. So 1 and 2 and 3, 4. I'll do that again. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. That's kind of how it's going to be played or said out loud. So that beat's copied for the twice. And then the bottom 2 lines, a little more tricky. We got a weird little rest in there. We got an 8th note rest in the middle of it. And we got the ending with some different things. Both of these look the same, but from a distance, but they are different if you look at the end. So the 3rd bar, the one on the bottom left, is 2 1/8 notes, 1 and then because it's an 8th note, that is 1. The second note, that little 8th note by itself with the tail, that's an 8th note. So it's 1 and 2 and then the quarter notes, 3, 4. And then then the 4th bar, 1 and rest, 2 and 1 and 2 and then we got the 8 notes, 3 and 4. Okay, so here's the 4th bar, 1 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. All right, so a little bit tricky. All right, let's play this and demonstrate this at 60 beats per minute. Follow along as best as you possibly can. All right, remember, write down your countings, pause if you need to, play as many times as you want. Okay, here we go, 60 beats per minute. Okay, 3 times in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 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 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Last time. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. All right, so those last 2 bars there, the 3 and the 3rd and the 4th bar, are meant to trick you a little bit. They're meant to trick you. All right, let's play our last one at 100 beats per minute just to demonstrate what it's going to sound like. It's going to be a little more challenging on my brain, but I think I can do it. Let's give it a go. All right, here we go. Let's get ready. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 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 3 and 4. Again, 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Woo! Tricky, isn't it? Yeah, very, very tricky. So that's going to hurt your brain a little bit, but you're going to be absolutely fine. Progressives you need. All right, I've been looking forward to this last one specifically. I mentioned to you that it progressively gets harder and more challenging on your brain and your thinking power. So this is the last one, exercise number 5. This is the last one. This is the most tricky one. All right, so this is the one that only contains 16th notes. We've been waiting for the 16th notes, the super clapping fast ones. Remember, 16th notes are counted as 1 E and a, 1 E and a, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, or whatever saying you kind of say. All right, so let's do the same as we did before. We identify where our 1, 2, 3, and 4 go, and then we identify what notes that we see. All right, so let's do the 4/4 time, okay? So 4 beats in each of these bars. So let's look at the first one. We have a quarter note, and then we have 16th notes right after, and another quarter note. So the quarter note is 1. The 16th notes, now remember, they're counted as 1 E and a, okay? 1 E and a. And every time I say 1 E and each of those things are being played, right? So you're writing 2 E and a on this bar because it's the second note that we see, okay? That's all together. It's bridged together as one. That whole, it's all kind of compacted. The third bar note is a quarter note, and the fourth is a rest. So the first bar sounds like this. It will go 1, 2 E and a 3, rest. Okay, that's how it first goes. Second note, second bar. Okay, we have the 4 16th notes, so it's 1 E and a, 1 E and a. Second note is a quarter note, so 2. The third one is a 16th note again, 3 E and a, 3 E and a, and the fourth one is a quarter note by itself, 4. So this is what it's going to sound like. 1 E and a 2, 3 E and a 4. Okay, I'll do that again. 1 E and a 2, 3 E and a 4. Okay, that's the second bar. That's what it's going to sound like. Let's move down to the third bar. The third bar, we have some 8th notes. You can tell because there's a 1 line on the bridge. Okay, and it's only 2 of them together. So 1 and. Second note is a quarter note, 2. Now here's that 16 notes, the third one, 3 E and a, okay, 3 E and a. You can tell by also the difference between 8th notes and 16 notes because as 16th has 2 lines above when they're all bridged together, and 8th notes has 1. It's a fun little trick. And then the fourth note is for a quarter note by itself. So this is what the third bar is going to sound like. 1 and 2, 3 E and a 4. I'll play it again. 1 and 2, 3 E and a 4. All right. And the last one, the fourth note, the fourth bar here is going to be 4. That's like the first. We have 4 16th notes put together at the start. 1 E and a. Second notes, 2 and. Third one, 3 E and a. And then 4 and. Okay, so this is the fourth bar. It's going to sound like 1 E and a 2 and 3 E and a 4 and. All right. So complicated, and it's meant to trick you. So take your time, think it through, take it in breaks, okay? How do you eat an elephant? 1 piece at a time. You can use that line as many times as you want to. Anytime I tell my students that, they're like, what does that mean? Oh, no, okay. Then you got to think about it. Okay, I'm getting sidetracked. Let's get to exercise number 5, 60 beats per minute. Just the same as before. I'll play it 3 times, counting out loud. All right, here we go. Now, before I get started on this one, though, if you find the clapping is too hard for the 16th notes especially, I recommend you use your lap instead and kind of alternate your hands, okay? Like 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a, okay? 1, 2, 3 E and a 4 and 1 E, that kind of thing, all right? Might be a little easier to get the 16 notes. Kind of like a drum, playing drums, okay? You don't play drums with one hand. It's quite hard. So try and figure that out, just as an option. Okay, 60 beats per minute. I'm going to clap this one. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2 E and a 3. Rest. 1 E and a 2. 3 E and a 4. 1 and 2. 3 E and a 4. 1 E and a 2. And 3 E and a 4. And 1, 2 E and a 3. Rest. 1 E and a 2. 3 E and a 4. 1 and 2. 3 E and a 4. 1 E and a 2. And 3 E and a 4. And 1, 2 E and a 3. Rest. 1 E and a 2. 3 E and a 4. 1 and 2. 3 E and a 4. 1 E and a 2. And 3 E and a 4. And all right, that was 60 beats per minute. Now, the ultimate challenge, especially because you've seen how fast 8 notes go on this. 16th notes are going to be hard to play. It's going to be, especially clapping. So it's going to be like it's really hard even for me to do it. So for this last demonstration, I'm going to play on my lap using the alternating hands. You can play on your drum if you want to. You can play with sticks if you want to. Whatever you choose. All right, so that's what it's going to sound like. So I'm going to play this one, counting out loud again, see how fast. And even saying the E-andas at a fast speed is quite hard. So if I mess up, hey, I mess up, whatever, move on. It's all good. We'll have a good laugh at it. And you can laugh at me if you want to. I give you permission to do that for this today. Okay, let's do 100 beats per minute. Wish me luck. Here we go. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2 E and a 3, and 1 E and a 2, 3 and a 4. 1 and 2, 3 and a 4. 1 E and a 2, and 3 and a 4. And 1, 2 E and a 3, 4. 1 E and a 2, 3 and a 4. 1 and 2, 3 and a 4. 1 E and a 2, and 3 and a 4. And 1, 2 E and a 3, 4. 1 E and a 2, 3 and a 4. 1 and 2, 3 and a 4, 1 E and a 2, and 3 and a 4, and okay, I wasn't actually that bad. One thing I do notice whenever I start to alternate, and I want you to know this as well. Just don't be worried about like what hand goes first. Should it be the right hand and then left hand, or should it be left hand and then right hand? Don't worry about that stuff. Just let your body naturally do what it wants to do. If you're starting to alternate things, when we get to some of our rudiments, it will start to matter, and we're going to be learning different patterns. But for the point of these exercises, don't worry about which hand goes right. I would suggest you let your body do naturally what it wants to do. So for an exercise like that, this is more than ever important to just progress slowly. Now I know it says 10 beats per minute. It jumps up here, but for this, if you want to even go like 5 beats per minute up instead, you absolutely can. Adjust however you think you need necessary. But remember, start slow, progress slowly. So those are my 5 exercises about learning rhythm and counting. And like I said before, all of these are going to be super important for moving forward. Now, we're going to be moving on to our next lesson right away. So take your time with this one. Remember, you can pull this lesson out from time to time and do this as many times as you need to practice. And also you can feel free to look up some other rhythm patterns. There's some great apps out there, and there's also some great websites that provide some different rhythms and so on. And I'll provide some as well on my website for you to check out as well. So for now, we'll see you in the next lesson. Great job. We'll see you next time.